Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Catherine. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Katie Hutt. I am the Business and Economics Librarian at AU, and I'll let Clarissa introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Clarissa Eisen. I'm the Science Librarian. I cover all of the sciences plus psychology and public health.
So we're going to be talking to you all today about evidence synthesis, more specifically systematic reviews, but we'll kind of go over the umbrella concept in addition to the more specific systematic reviews. So before we jump into some slides, I was going to do just a quick show of hands poll. So how familiar is everyone with evidence synthesis? So are you very familiar, meaning that you have published articles using an evidence synthesis methodology? Anyone here? All right, how about familiar? Maybe I've read some articles using evidence synthesis, but haven't written any. Okay, so some familiar, and then not so familiar. I've heard of it, but I don't really know that much about it. So that's some of us too. Okay, so there's a nice representation in the room. So let's look at this definition of evidence synthesis. So for those of us who are more familiar, you probably know this already, but we wanted to kind of level set, get everyone on the same page. So evidence synthesis is a research methodology, and it involves collecting, analyzing, and integrating data from multiple sources, oftentimes a lot of sources, in a systematic way. It also involves rigorous and transparent approaches to finding the studies that are then analyzed and integrated. And often the goal is to provide a very comprehensive and also unbiased overview of the existing evidence on a given topic, which can then inform decision making. And so you can think of these decisions often in the form of health policy, but can be other policies as well. And this is a methodology that really did arise out of the health sciences. So that's where we saw it first, maybe 20, 30 years ago. And then the last 10, 15 years, we've seen it grow in popularity in other disciplines as well. So this is a fairly pure description of evidence synthesis. I got it from ChatGPT maybe 3 years ago. I would say in other disciplines where evidence synthesis is used outside of health, it's not necessarily at this same level. So this is sort of the most rigorous, I guess, definition would be in our health related disciplines. So evidence synthesis, again, is the umbrella term for lots of different types of methodologies that sort of fit that definition that we just looked at. But other, or I guess subterms, child terms, if we're getting librarianish about it, would be the narrative literature review, which we see these a lot. Sometimes they're called systematic reviews. They're not, but a narrative literature review would provide an overview of the literature and how it's developed over time. So this generally is not using a quantitative method. And then we also have scoping maps or systematic maps, and these are really looking at where the research is currently. And then the systematic review is another example. This is probably the brand name of evidence synthesis, maybe what you all have heard of. Lots of articles that are written using an evidence synthesis methodology call themselves systematic reviews, even though they may not actually be. But this is the most sort of rigorous, the most and tries to be the most transparent. And often a systematic review is trying to answer a question of what works or what does the research say. But other methodologies would be a rapid review. We saw these a lot during COVID. So rapid reviews sort of skirt some of the protocols and guidelines mandated for systematic reviews in an effort to get something out really quickly. So in the case of COVID, it was people literally dying, right? So we needed evidence out and we needed it fast. Also living reviews, which are continuously updated. something called an umbrella review. So there's lots of different types of evidence synthesis. There is this sort of seminal article in the field. It was written in 2009 by Grant and Booth, and they listed, I think it was 14 different types of reviews. Like, why is this important? You do want to kind of understand the terminology before embarking on your own evidence synthesis, particularly because as the popularity of systematic reviews specifically has grown, a lot of researchers are thinking to themselves, well, I need to do a systematic review. But you don't. All of these other reviews are equally as valid and take a lot less time. So it's good to kind of, think about what you're actually trying to accomplish. Along these lines, Cornell University, which does a lot of great work with evidence synthesis, put together a decision tree as you're starting out with your research and trying to figure out what type of review you want to do. This is kind of taking you through, various questions you can ask yourself. Do I have more than a year to devote to this? Do I have at least 2 other members on my team? Stuff like that. If the answer to some of those is no, then you're probably not going to end up writing a systematic review. And again, that is totally okay. And we can still do really great and valid research using one of the other methodologies that isn't quite as demanding. But now we're gonna like shift gears away from the bigger umbrella term, and talk about systematic reviews specifically, because again, that's what a lot of people are sort of interested in learning more about. So a systematic review is often answering a question as to whether or not an intervention is effective. Did the intervention work in this specific population? Is there sufficient evidence of an intervention working? So the question in a systematic review is a really important part of the systematic review. We'll get into these in just a little bit. But it's often looking at what did intervention X, what is the effect of intervention X on population Y in achieving Z outcomes, right? So there's often kind of these 3 parts to the question. Oftentimes a systematic review will be limited to a certain type of study design, maybe a randomized control trial. It does include, and this is really important, transparent, comprehensive, and reproducible search strategy to ensure that all of the relevant literature has been found and was included, and that someone can reproduce that, can do the same search and find the same information at a later date. So that's a really important part of the whole process. It also has very specific inclusion and exclusion criteria for the included studies. And these are all listed out, in the body of the article. So it's important to know what was included and what was excluded and why. It always includes a risk of bias assessment. So that's looking at every article that was included in the study and talking about its level of bias. And then sometimes it will include a quantitative analysis, and then it would be a meta-analysis. So then it's like a systematic review and meta-analysis in one. So let's talk about questions. So a well-defined question is a really important part of a systematic review. If your question's like a little bit squishier and not super well-defined, it may mean that you're doing a scoping review. And again, that's great. And it will be a lot less demanding on your time. So a lot of systematic reviews, especially again, those coming from the health sciences, are looking at questions of effectiveness of a certain intervention. It doesn't have to be about effectiveness. There's lots of other questions. How was the construct defined and measured? There could be a question about rates, trends, prevalence, whether things are correlated, cause and effect. But again, the question, no matter what it is, does have to be well defined. So this is an example of a systematic review. Again, we can see here, this is looking at the effect of intervention X, the intervention being the flipped classroom model, on population Y, that would be our undergraduate students. The comparison would be traditional learning, and then the outcome is improved learning, right? So they often follow a similar sequence. And there are frameworks. There's lots of frameworks that you can access for systematic review questions. So one of the most often used is called PICO, and that stands for population or patient, intervention, comparison, and outcome. And PICO is particularly useful for like quantitative research. So we can see that in this example. Again, the population is undergraduate students. The intervention is a flipped classroom. The comparison is traditional lecture-based learning. And then the outcome would be improved learning outcomes. There are other question frameworks like PEO, and that stands for population exposure outcome. This is often used for like a more qualitative question. Like, for example, what are the daily lived experiences of mothers with postnatal depression? So the population would be mothers with postnatal depression. The exposure, or I guess maybe the population is mothers, exposure is postnatal depression, outcome is daily lived experiences. So it's 2 examples of question frameworks. There's many others, and it sort of depends on your discipline, what type of studies you're including, etc. So now we talked about systematic reviews. We're going to look at scoping reviews. So these are often assessing the available literature, and they can make the case for doing a systematic review or perhaps dissuade you from doing a systematic review, depending on where the literature is, right? So sometimes it's kind of like a first step to doing a systematic review. Sometimes it is the end in and of itself. For scoping review, your question can be broader than a systematic review. It still should be well-defined, but it doesn't need to sort of hit on those different components like population exposure, control outcome. It doesn't necessarily include a synthesis like a systematic review would, and it usually doesn't include that risk of bias. So if you're not going through each article and determining how biased it is or isn't, you may be doing a scoping review. So here's an example of a scoping review question. What is the extent and range of literature on the impact of social media use on mental health among adolescents? So we're seeing, again, where are we right now? Sort of where is the field? What does the literature say? All right, we're going to do another audience participation poll. You can feel free to raise your hand. You do not have to. So take like a minute or two to read the questions and then think about, okay, is it a scoping review question? Is it a systematic review question? And then we'll see what we think. All right, who thinks number 1 is a systematic review? Who thinks it is a scoping review? One brave person raised their hand. Great, it is a scoping review. So we're seeing like what the landscape is currently and what programming exists for career readiness. The second question is a systematic review question. It's measuring a specific population, in this case, undergraduate students. There is an intervention, participation in formal research experiences. There's a comparison, no formal research experiences, and there is an outcome, which is career readiness. So again, this is kind of just helping situate us into what exactly is a systematic review and what is another evidence synthesis methodology. So we just thought it'd be good to sort of go over this again, level set, so we're all kind of talking about the same thing. And now Clarissa is going to review the process. I'm wondering if this will.
I'll just stand over
just,
here.
Here, I'll move over.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So the fun part, how do we do all of this? There's really just 5 easy steps to this process. You prepare, you retrieve all your articles, you evaluate them, you synthesize this information, and then you write it up. So fun and easy. Scoping reviews will also go through a modified version of this process. So when I'm talking about systematic reviews, I'm going to say the most like rigorous pieces, but scoping reviews will follow most of this process. So the most important part when we're doing either of these methodologies and just in general for scoping or systematic reviews is we need to have our research be replicable and reproducible. So what that looks like is, I'm going to change that. Okay, so we need to do our research in a way where others could theoretically reproduce that. That's true in all science, but especially here in these systematic reviews, because we want to prove we are not cherry picking our sources. We want to prove that we have exhaustively searched and gathered every single last article that is on this topic. It would also allow for an extension of this topic in the future or a potential living systematic review. The way we ensure this replicability and reproducibility is by pre-registering our search topic. This is where you will state your research plan before gathering your data. This is one way to prevent some like research no-nos like harking, hypothesizing after the results are known. I do want to mention you will be doing some like preliminary searching to make sure your hypothesis makes sense. There's enough articles on this topic that warrants doing a systematic review. If there's only 2 articles, you can't do a systematic review on it. Your searching should be exploratory rather than confirming. It should be more hypothesis generating than hypothesis testing. So you'll do a little searching in the beginning, but you're not writing your search strategy then, and you're not pulling articles then. So remember one last time, if you take nothing else from this class, research methods need to be transparable and reproducible, but pre-registration does not inherently mean your article is reproducible. Next, when we're preparing, there are 2 kinds of different guidelines that exist. Those are conducting and reporting guidelines. 2 very different things. So your conducting guidelines are the playbook for doing evidence synthesis research. They are going to be that like handbook that you get, Research Methods 101 class or 301 class. These are going to be providing your guidance on inclusion and exclusion criteria, the best practices for screening, how to perform data extraction. This is going to tell you how to do this research methodology. These are important guidelines, but sometimes you might find them too broad because they're not going to be on your specific topic. They're just going to tell you how to do it. Some big names for conducting guidelines include the Cochrane Handbook for Systematic Reviews of Interventions. This is the big brand name of doing systematic reviews. If you're in healthcare, Cochrane is the place you want to go. There's also the Joanna Briggs Institute, JBI, their manuals. That's for more of a social science lens on things, just as good. And they'll walk you through creating your question, doing that analysis. And then, so we have conducting and now we have reporting. Reporting guidelines list the necessary items researchers need to transparently report in their documentation of the introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusion, your MRAD, in your abstracts, in your appendices, and all of the supplemental documentation you have. These are the checklists, literal check boxes that are telling you what must be included. So you'll want to take a look at those ahead of time so you know what to collect and write down. The most popular option of a reporting guideline is PRISMA. It's the preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analyses. Most academic journals want you to follow the PRISMA guidelines. There are other ones if your journal requires that, or if you want to do something else that include Messier, Roses, JARS Quant. Different journals will have different requirements. So it's also a good idea when you're preparing to look at where you want to possibly publish this and see what reporting guidelines they require. Generally, it's going to be PRISMA. The Equator Network is trying to organize all of the different guidelines that exist. There are many, many of them. So that's one place to find something more specific to your research question. Okay. Things to consider when selecting your guidelines, because I said there are many. What kind of review type are you doing? Are you doing a systematic review? Are you doing a scoping review? What is your discipline? There is some like ROSES, which is just for environmental science. There's some for other disciplines. What is your population? Some populations map better to frameworks than others. Journal requirements, what does your journal require? And then there's different collaborative networks such as Campbell. They are supportive for researchers, and then you can follow their guidelines. So lots of preparation before we even touch a database, right? Okay, last or another checking in. When you're selecting reporting guidelines, should you do it at the beginning or the end? Show of hands for beginning. Show of hands at the end. We're not brave. Beginning, always at the beginning. Choose your guidelines before you're doing your research or pulling of articles. And if you're not sure where to go, we can help, right? Okay, now that we know how we're going to do this, we need to report to others our plans. So that's going to be writing your protocol and registering your protocol. So a protocol is like a roadmap. It's just going to be explaining to others what your research plan is. You're going to write out your full question. You're going to write out your search terms, every single thing that you're going to be doing. Which databases are you pulling from? It's going to state your rationale, your hypothesis, that methodology. These are created a priori. They're done before you do your searching, and they're registered and shared for transparency. Doing this is an important part of a systematic review. If you're doing very thorough searching and don't do this, your write-up may be rejected from many journals because this is a requirement. How much detail do you need? Because as we know, methods and searching changes over time a little bit. There's a guide for that. It's the Prisma P, the preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analyses for protocols. It's a checkbox. There's also handbooks that can help you. Chapter 5 in the Campbell Systematic Reviews is a good one. There's guidance for scoping reviews in particular, and there are also plenty of templates available online made up by librarians or people that do these a lot that can help walk you through the level of detail that you can model. Now that you have written one and done all this prep work, where do you put these protocols? Many different places. Probably the best one is the Open Science Framework Registry. This is just a place, it's a registry. There's a lot of stuff on Open Science Framework. This is one of the places to put your protocol. The benefit of having a protocol public or available openly, this methodology takes a long time. If somebody else wants to do this methodology, they should be searching to see if other people are already doing it on your topic. So you get to kind of stake your claim to this research question, and hopefully other people will change the question a little bit so you're not all publishing on the same thing. Other registries include protocols.io and the Cochrane Library. If you're doing very health medical things, that's where you would go. You also do have the option of publishing in different repositories, such as your institutional repository, AU has one, funding repositories, or preprint servers like Archive or medRxiv. So these are all different places to go. Once again, the important part is that you share it ahead of time. Where doesn't matter as much. Okay, we've done all of that prep work, tons and tons of prep work, and we haven't even touched a database yet. What are the other steps of a systematic review? Well, that's the easy part now that you've done everything. There's just the retrieval, appraisal, synthesis, and write-up. Appraisal, first the retrieval, you wrote up that beautiful search protocol. You're just going to copy and paste that in your databases because they were following all of the translations. You used all the subject headings and followed everything perfectly when you were writing your protocol. So you're just going to follow your search protocol, find every article that appears in multiple databases and gray literature, and put that in a citation manager, and then deduplicate and track all of that deduplication to see what you have left. During the appraisal stage, this will work in two different stages. First, you'll look in the title and abstract, and then the full text round. When you're doing your title and abstract, you'll be looking at the titles and abstracts to see if articles meet your inclusion or exclusion criteria. If they do, you say yes, and they move on. If they clearly don't, you say no, and you'll get rid of it. And if they don't, if it's a maybe, you move them on to the next stage as well. And then in the second round, you're going to take those yeses and maybes, and you're going to read the full text to see, once again, do they really meet your inclusion and exclusion criteria? And this is where you have only a yes or a no. And once again, you'll be tracking all of that through your protocols as well. Synthesis, you're going to extract that data. What do those articles say? How can you synthesize all of that? You can organize thematically or quantitatively. There are a lot of different ways to do this analysis once you have your papers. And then write up. So you'll write up your research as we always do, but there are also specific reporting standards you should follow. So you'll reference reporting standards when you're writing that up. Okay. There are tools to help you with this research process. There's not one tool that will do everything for you because that would be too easy. So there are tools that do all kinds of different things. Okay. There's tools for search and strategy development. There's tools for your information management, and then tools for screening. The search strategy include like citation chaser and backwards citation searching, all different ways of finding and going through to get articles. There's Boolean search construction and testing searches against seed studies. There's lots of different ways to make sure you are finding every single last article that exists on this topic. Information management includes citation managers like Zotero or Mendeley. There's also an R application that assists with deduplicifying if you want to use R in this research process. EndNote or Mendeley, the library is most equipped to help you with Zotero. So we would recommend you do that one, but you can choose whatever you want. And then tools for screening include some of the like famous ones that you know, like Cochrane, or not that one, Covidence or RAN. There's other tools. They require subscriptions, and we at the library do not provide those tools at this time. If you know you want to use them, you can do a systematic review without using any of these tools. It is possible. If you want to use this tool, because we don't provide it, if you're writing a grant, if you have your own personal research funds, we recommend either writing it into your grant or using that funds for that. Great. Systematic reviews, so fun and easy. Now you know why we can't do it in 1 year and with less than 2 people, right? So working with graduate students, we've been seeing a lot of graduate students come in, either their professors recommend that they do this, their professors tell them they have to do this for their own publishable objects for research in 1 semester as part of like an assignment. And instead of doing a whole systematic review, we want you to think, if you're assigning this or you're telling graduate students to do this, think about why. What do you want them to learn from this process? Do you want them to practice effective searching strategies? Do you want them to learn writing up a research plan? Do you want them to learn preparing a protocol and pre-registering? Do you want them to have a publishable object? Think about your why, how long they have, how many people are available to work on this team. Think about how much time do you have to support them in this. And then instead of teaching how to do one, it may be better to think about your why and then just break it down into that one section. So if you want to teach effective, thorough searching, just focus on that. Have them do a annotated bibliography or pulling everything they can find. If you want them to do practice writing up a research plan or grant proposal, just practice that component. There are lots of different ways that you can teach students portions of this without requiring every single step in this process. We'll share these slides later, but there's 2 resources that offer excellent sample assignments and learning objectives that go along with breaking these projects down into their educationable components. Okay, Katie, I think it's back to you.
It's back to me.
Yeah.
All right. So how can we help you? Let's talk about that. So Clarissa and I, with our colleague, William Rafferty, who's not here, started an evidence synthesis service in the library. We launched just about a year ago. We've worked with a number of different faculty, some grad students, some graduate assistants in that time. The help that we've been providing has been to help you understand the steps and processes that are involved. So you all just went through that. You probably don't need to go through that again, but it was a lot. So if you would like us to go through that again with you, we are here to do that. We have a guide, and you will be getting these slides, so you'll have the link to the guide. I can also bring that up so you can see it. And it's a LibGuide, and it walks you through all the steps of the process, all the steps of all the processes every step of the way. That's what I'm trying to say. We can help you determine, are there existing reviews? So happy to do that. You don't want to be redoing work that's already been done. Because again, we've seen this takes a lot of time. This will be a lot of your time. So you want to make it worth your while. We can help you develop, refine your topic. We can help out with those protocols, with registering the protocols. Certainly we can help identify the databases that you're going to want to search. So Clarissa and I each have our liaison responsibilities. So I'm with business and economics. She is our STEM librarian. But then we work with our colleagues. If your project falls outside of either of those two, we work with our colleagues to determine, okay, what's the best database for this topic or databases. We can review search techniques. So we're there for that. If any of this is of interest, again, there's a link. We have a link to an intake form. Make an appointment with us. We also are doing quite well on time. So if any of you are kind of starting or in the middle and you have questions, we'll stay for a little bit and we're happy to chat with you. At this point, we're unable to actually run the searches for you or write up the search section of the manuscript. Those types of services, because of the level of involvement, the level of time, we're not able to provide just because we have many other responsibilities outside this service. And they do generally warrant like co-authorship. So we have colleagues at other institutions who are, all they do is evidence synthesis, and they are helping with these steps, and they're usually a co-author on the manuscript. So at this time, we're just offering like consultative help. And again, we're here now. If you have questions, that's the same slide. I think that brings us to the end. That's it. So easy peasy. Just go off and do your systematic reviews. I know this was a lot of information. It does take a lot of time, but let us know if you have questions. That's what the service is here for. That's what we're here for. And again, we're happy to stick around for a little bit. If anyone has questions now.
I had a question outside of systematic reviews. Is that okay to ask?
Sure. Yeah.
Library? So, when you do get into the AU library system now, and then there's always the bar on top, AI assistance or something, it says.
Yeah.
Search or something.
Yeah.
So, is there going to be a session on how to make that really work for you? Because I'm using it.
Yeah.
And I want to use it better. And because what it does, I mean, is that you click there, and then what happens is that, it generates, of course, you put in your question, it generates 5 resources.
Yeah.
And then each resource, citations rather, then there'll be an abstract.
Yeah.
And then it keeps prompting you that, is that the question, or do you want to go further? So it seems to me that it's a really powerful tool, but I would like some assistance to sort of, figure out how to do that even better.
So we are
it's not that great,
right,
but I think that And what I've heard is that if you know how to ask the right questions with AI, keep working with it, it gets to know what you're getting at, and it's better able to sort of,
So we don't have a session on that in and of itself. There is another session I'm presenting with a number of colleagues next Wednesday, and we touch on that a little bit. I believe it's called Practical and Ethical Uses of AI in Research.
signed up for that.
Oh, great. Okay. So we touched on that a little bit. We don't get into it in too much detail because there's a lot to cover there. But what I would recommend is to reach out to your liaison librarian. Do you know what department are you with?
With the sociology, I'll reach out.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And they can
Guide.
probably walk you through it. What we're finding there is it is, I think, is a good tool. It's only searching the abstracts of the content we have.
Oh, only at AU.
Basically, with some caveats, but yes. So it's like, it is a powerful tool, and I think it's nice for students because it is limiting the corpus of what they're looking at to reliable, credible source. I don't mean to put those in quotes, reliable and credible sources.
And it does tell you when it's a peer-reviewed article or what it is, it does tell you that. Yeah.
And it will tell you if it can't find the information because we don't have content on that. So I think it's a powerful tool. For faculty research, it probably wouldn't be my default go-to because it is somewhat limited. It is somewhat limited. That's my opinion, and others in the library may feel differently. These are all very new, and it's a bit of a moving target, but we're trying to get a handle on everything. And I see Catherine, who is our colleague in the library, you had your hand up.
I just want to make sure what resource you're discussing, talking about the AI section of the.
It's Primo AI. I'm pretty sure,
yeah.
like in the library's catalog, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very new and
Is it my laptop?
just for,
Oh, don't do it because that's the Zoom, right? Here,
Well-
just open it to phone.
I think
Oh,
the
that's-
important point is.
I think it's fine.
Searching beyond the
The
library's collection.
And I know for some, and the reason I say it may not be the best tool for faculty research is I know for some topics, like controversial topics, it will just say that it can't find any information on
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
So once we're here. And then we're in Primo, there's
Yeah, I
this
see that.
AI
It's
search
just AI search
assistant.
assistant.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's a really great tool for students, and it's not that faculty can't use it, but it is somewhat limiting, I think. And as with any AI tools, we have seen it make mistakes.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes what it will do is, since it's just reading the abstract, you've seen this in any academic
Right.
article, the abstract will say one thing and then is then refuted in the body of the manuscript. So it will be very confidently assert something that then the actual source
I see.
completely refutes. And that's true for like any of these generative AI chatbots. So they're a mixed blessing.
The
Great
other
question.
tools are like newspaper articles, journals.
So
This,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
this is just the AI tool that's pulling from it. The other ones are just explaining what we own and have access to.
Yeah. So this is
So
our
they're
catalog.
non-AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the catalog. It's going to show you everything we own and have access to, not everything that exists in the world.
Correct.
But I did find that, I use this a lot.
Uh-huh.
I did find that in the database, not so much the AI, but I'm talking about the database, is that if it'll list everything, and if it doesn't have it, it'll say
Yeah.
that we don't have it, then you go through the process of acquiring, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But it does tell you that it exists out there. The database.
The catalog.
Not
you
the
mean.
databases.
No,
The catalog?
yeah, the
This-
database, when I click on the.
Like if
database.
you're looking for something and we don't have it, so let's look. We're probably gonna have something.
We'll have
systematic
something, systematic review,
Reviews and
manatee. I love doing searches on manatee.
So if we don't have, so right now, I think this is what you're referring to. Right now, we're looking only at what is available in AU or our consortium partners,
Consortium, oh,
but we can open it up to everything.
Yeah.
And then this may include things that we don't have access to. Of course, sometimes it's hard to find because we have access to we have access to a lot.
And these are a lot of articles, which
Yes.
we usually have. If you narrow it down to like
Books.
book
Let's go to
chapters,
books.
do that.
Yeah.
Books as a whole.
Yeah, do book chapter.
No books. Okay, book chapter.
There's never any books.
No.
But I must confess, sometimes when I don't find
There we
something I
go.
know
And
it
then request
exists,
this.
if I do a Google search, it pulls up better.
Yeah. No, our catalog is like
Search algorithm. Google is so much more powerful than our catalog is better than like
But they're also different
it
things.
has it.
They're also just different things. A catalog is different from a search engine. So they can't be compared.
No, but when you, as you say, when you put down everything like newspapers and everything.
Yeah.
Then it should be able to tell you that it's there, you may not know, even if you say everything.
It would only ever be everything that is put into the catalog. So if something
See.
exists in the world, but no other library that uses
I
this
Or in
system
the
has it,
consortium, I see.
if the system doesn't know it exists, then searching everything won't put it up, even if Google thinks it
This
exists.
is your definition of everything.
yes. I'm reminded of the children's book Grover and the Everything in the Entire World Museum, if anyone is familiar with that. But yeah, they're sort of two different things. Our library's catalog is a great place to find what we have access to, but not necessarily what exists in its entirety.
Yes.
You will find.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, we don't, sometimes.
Yeah, because nothing. First 5 things. That's
Yeah, we unfortunately at AU do not have the Google algorithm. But maybe if we pay our people, all technical services people like Google pays theirs, maybe we would one day.
But, you know, I can do searches.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So who knows what they've been searching previously.
Yeah.
Those are surprising.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You know, I didn't want to call this, but there's, and also, maybe I should ask this separately, but you know, I've wanted to do historical work on some of the, women's movement magazines that existed in different parts of the world
Mhm.
that no longer are like, you know, of course, but I mean, there would be probably universities that sort of are good, certain universities are good at keeping certain kinds of archives, right? So, historical archives, so like AU would be, what would you say is the strength of AU in keeping, you know, that kind of thing? And this is not, I would say this is in the gray literature maybe, but it's important, it's very important, you know, resource for scholars. And so this is not an academic article, but kind of, you know, gray literature, I would say. So certain places do a better job, right? Or certain areas they emphasize more. So AU, what would you say is the strength where you keep historical records?
I would say we have a really strong collection of historical newspapers and magazines. We have access to databases that are online archives of all of these things digitized.
let's look for,
We have tons of them.
Women's movement magazines or something,
I'm gonna go look for
letters.
historical newspapers.
Yeah.
Although Catherine, if you have I think Catherine probably gets a lot of these questions. And you said you're in the sociology department?
Yeah.
So you may want to make an appointment with Stella,
Okay.
who's your liaison librarian, and I don't deal with historical newspapers that much anymore as a business librarian. There's not a whole lot there. So she probably knows of some resources that I do not.
We have a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Well,
good
we also-
collection.
So here's historical news. These are newspapers, and we do have archives. Do we have the Vogue archives? We do,
Yeah,
right?
right there.
What are the Miss Magazine archive?
I don't think we do.
Probably not. They might be like duplicated somewhere.
Yeah.
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 So there's a tab called Find Journals. What this does will tell you which database, like which journals.
Let's see what we have.
Found.
Miss Magazine.
There we go.
So it looks
Click it.
like we do have some archive. It looks like this maybe we might have microfilm like off-site.
Yeah. It's kind of frustrating. but Just put in this period, you might get different.
Ooh,
Let's just-
try that.
That's gonna come up with so much. Let's see.
There it is. Oh, that's Ms. Foundation for Education.
Can't be the same thing. I don't even know.
No, that can't be the same thing. But Women's Studies Archive.
So there's something here.
Yeah.
Unclear what it is, but
1972 to 1990.
yeah. So there's some, but yeah, it
There's
sort of
stuff.
depends on, I think, yeah, as we said, I think our historical newspaper collection is pretty strong. For specific magazines, you could also, so I would start with Stella, who's your liaison librarian. Our communications librarian is Derek. She may bring him in to consult with you too, or give her some ideas because he would know too. But there's some, we do have a archive collection. I don't think we have a lot of women's magazines in that archive collection, but yeah, we have a number of gender studies specific databases. So to find that, I'm
I
going to go to databases. And then I'm going to go to subjects.
Mhm.
And then we can look at gender studies.
How did you get there by doing databases and then you're going scrolling down and getting in the studies?
Yeah. So you go to databases and then you can go to subject. So you can limit it by subject and then search.
It makes 637 databases.
Oh.
One just starts with
I see.
our subject guides also.
Gender Watch is really good. I mean, that's kind of my go-to.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Sure.
That's useful.
Yeah, I like gender study, Gender Watch is,
Yeah,
is my
It's a
go-to.
good one.
Other question
Show the subject.
Oh, on,
Because we have, we create these ourselves. Subject guides.
While they're working on that, does anyone have any questions related to evidence synthesis I can help with?
yes.
We will,
Yeah.
yes.
And we have too, we have a toolbox, which has all the, which Clarissa didn't mention all of the tools because there's so many, but we list out like a lot of the tools in that document too.
Yeah, when I said show the subject guides, I have to say the one that you guys.
Oh, for this.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Evidence synthesis. So these, so subject guides are compiled by librarians and it brings together all of the resources, including but not limited to databases on a given subject. So this is our subject guide on systematic reviews. Which again, is we link to it in the slides, but you can see overviews, which we kind of went through here, and then resources for every step of the way. This is how you start preparing, etc. Any other questions? Yeah.
We have an institutional repository.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Aura. Right? Or is it called Audra? No,
I think it's Audra now.
okay.
I just always Google
Like
AU
yeah,
institutional
too.
repository and then it comes up. Thank you, Google.
It is linked to from the library site too. I just
Yeah.
don't remember where.
ORY. Yeah.
Okay. Did I spell it wrong? Here's the it's the AU Research Archive, Aura.
Oh, okay. It is Aura. Look at you.
So let's go.
So there you can click the Aura and it'll take you to a new location. And then you can also make an account and submit information or stuff that way.
Let's look at categories.
So you can look at what has been deposited there regarding the women's health or women's something even more specific, and then if other people have done that and you have access, it'll tell us that, right? So
Yes. So
Only
if,
within AU.
if other
Yeah, I
AU
understand.
faculty
I Google,
members
yeah.
upload something, then you could search it and see.
You can't, yeah, I don't know that that's like the most efficient way to do
not.
it. We
But
have,
they're not required to, AU
Mhm.
faculty, if they do systematic, they're not required.
no.
What? If somebody does a systematic review here at AU, they can put it in many places, including this one,
I see.
but institutional repositories are not recommended for the place to do it. There are many other more visible locations. If a faculty member chooses to upload other kinds of research here, so for example, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I then cite in an academic article. I have that uploaded there for a place for people to find it. I have a book chapter coming out and I'll put it there for open access. So there are other types beyond just systematic reviews in here.
Just looking for like,
I think this also where professors can upload syllabi.
oh, like older syllabi? I'm just gonna
Maybe
sociology.
check with Rachel on that one. I don't, because we have to pay for storage, so I don't know if they want syllabi here or somewhere in Canvas.
So I'm just in the sociology. I just clicked on sociology.
So, and I'm assuming that once you upload, this university owns it.
Say that again?
If you put it up, any, like your work.
Just this version. So just like, so oftentimes if you want to make it available through Aura, you would put like the pre-print version. So you wouldn't put, I think some journals would have
Oh,
restrictions
right,
against,
Yeah.
uploading like
Yeah.
the final version that the journal prints, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is usually like the preprint. I'm sure we have a guide on Aura too. I'm gonna look.
Oh, look at that.
Let's see.
We're at 4:27 and the session does end at 4:30. So if any of you do need to leave, you're more than welcome to do so. Thank you so much for attending. Please remember we are here for all of your research needs. This is a long and difficult process and you don't have to do it alone. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, I wish I had this help 2 years back.
Mhm.
You have it now.
Is now, yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking for Aura. So those are theses and dissertations. Digital research. Okay. Sure.
It's a very famous Indian women's magazine, very famous, the magazine though. And I have the hard copies of, but not all the way through.
Mhm.
I mean, so the best place for me to go, it's called Manushi.
Mhm.
So the best place for me to go would be not just directly, but to go into to see if the women's
Yeah, well, let's see. So what is it? What's it called?
Ma-
Manushi?
Yeah,
How do you spell it?
MANUSHI.
USHI, like
yeah.
that? Okay. We may.
And
No, there's no results found. So then I would look for that like world.
I doubt they will keep it. No, they won't keep it. Yeah.
But it may be elsewhere. It's a an Indian women's magazine called
Yeah.
Manushi.
Yeah. I don't think it's
I
in
think they have
print
following
anymore.
the background, or we have the QR code.
But it was the defining magazine of the women's movement.
I think we're at the table where you signed in. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot to,
The
right.
Oh, see that? That's wonderful. Books and other documents.
WorldCat.
Uh-huh.
A journal about women's study. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went to WorldCat.
Okay.
So it looks like GW may have some.
Library of Congress. Okay, God. Okay, that's great.
Let's go back to my slides.
So what did you do to how did you come to it?
I went to WorldCat, which stands for World Catalog.
Yes.
And that's where
Okay.
you can put in a journal title
Okay.
or a book
Okay.
title, an article title, and then you can see, who
Because
has it.
I didn't get to it through Google even, so this is good. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean, if I come up with these kinds of, because I'm doing a lot of archival stuff,
Mhm.
which, they're of course not available. So if I come to this Stella to talk to her,
Yeah.
and then she would be able to help me
Yes.
figure out where to, okay.
And if
thank
she
you.
doesn't know, she'll find out. But yeah,
Okay.
that's like, you can also use our chat. So we have, but being faculty that you're doing specific research, I would just go to Stella. I think that would be,
Okay.
that would be your best bet. But we do have this chat. Where did it go?
Yeah, but it's sort of easy to just within 2 minutes, we communicated
Yeah.
and you were able to sort of, thank you. That's very helpful.
Sure, absolutely.